What's going on, EoP sports fans? It's Wednesday night. It's 8:30. It's time for EoP. I'm Big Al.
And I'm Joey Shear.
And Fred has the night off tonight, but that's all right. We got plenty to talk about. Short turnaround week for the Eagles. Played the Pats on Sunday. Going to go right at it tomorrow against the Vikings. The Phillies are on right now, down 4-1 to the Braves. Maybe they can bring some magic back. We're going to talk about some of that. I call it almost magic because they've had some almost magic recently.
I mean, you're saying, can they bring back the magic? Well, a majority of these times when they're down in the ninth, they bring the magic, and then they just can't hold on to the lead or take the lead.
Christopher Sanchez goes 8 innings here, so there's a plus. So, I mean, the other guys can't do it, but we're going to talk about all that. But guys, I want to remind you, this is brought to you by our great sponsors over at Sherry'sTickets.com, SherryInjuryLaw.com, DolansBar.com, and, of course, PhillySportsTrips.com. So for those who are just joining us, this is the first time we get to say it here live on the air with him in the studio. Happy 40th, big guy.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that is true.
Yes.
I wasn't 40 last time.
You weren't 40 last time you were on the show with us, and now you are 40, so happy 40th. Welcome to the 40 Club.
Thank you very much. You know what I did on my 40th?
What did you actually do?
I bought wild card tickets, division tickets, championship series tickets, and World Series tickets. So happy birthday to me.
And a divorce lawyer.
Yeah. I got a ticket for her.
One last thing. So for those who didn't know, Joe had a surprise party.
Yes.
Before we kind of talked about it before when you weren't here. Also, your wife did an amazing job surprising you and just putting the whole thing together.
Still can't believe it.
Still can't believe it. It was a great job. And I told you, Joe, your present was coming in, and it came in while you were off.
Oh.
So wait right there.
Oh, this is for real.
This is for real.
I thought this was like one of those things where it's like, hey,
checks in the mail.
Yeah, kind of. What the hell is that? I almost don't want to. No way.
That is a DeAndre Swift signed jersey with the
the
little sticker on there that says it's legit.
Yeah,
I didn't just sign a jersey I found on the street.
Well, you didn't have to do this, man.
Dude, your 40th. I take care of my boys.
This is so cool.
We've known each other since birth. I think I could do a little something for you for your 40th.
Thank you so much. This is so cool. Like, I want to take it out and look at it, but like, I don't want to do anything to it.
I have not opened it yet. But
thank you for now me having to go spend $300 on a frame. I'm totally kidding. I love this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
This is so cool.
So I wanted to do something different. I had a couple ideas. The one thing I wanted to do, and I'll show you later, it just wasn't going to come through for weeks.
Okay.
I wanted to get an old school Kelly Green Eagles bomber jacket for you.
Jesus.
So
yeah, I'm glad he didn't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, but they didn't. They said it was going to take weeks to come in. So I said, forget that. But I called my guy up who took care of me.
That's amazing, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so happy birthday to you, my friend.
Thank you.
And
I'm blown away. I'm truly blown away by this. That's so cool.
So I'm sure your wife's going to be at you for another piece of memorabilia in the house.
Guess what? Deal with it.
It was funny because, as you know, me and the wife here are trying to buy a house, looking to move.
Yeah.
Not sure what we're doing yet, but we've been packing up things that she deems not important as my sports memorabilia.
Sure.
I have a wall of containers. I'm talking an entire wall behind me, and I am not done yet. I've had to cover up with my green screen in the basement. So, I get it, and my wife is not happy about it. But, guys, we're talking about Eagles. We're going to touch a little bit. What's great about me and you doing a show on Wednesdays, or hump day as people like to call it, is that we get to touch a little bit. Everybody's already kind of reacted to the last game, but we're going to be able to lead you in, especially with this game, because we're going to be the last show that's before the pregame here on EoP to talk to you about the matchup of Eagles versus Vikings. So, but let's real quick, Joe, touch on the Patriots game. Overall, your thoughts and
overall, my thoughts are. I mean, like you guys were on the show. You and Fred were doing the show last week, and I was chiming in when I was down the shore, and I was saying, hey, first half, the offense is going to start off slow. They're going to pick it back up in the second half. Well, it was the complete opposite. They went up. I know it was with a defensive pick six from Darius Slay, but they got on the board with a touchdown to Devontae Smith. They went up 16-0, and then the tide started to shift. So, I mean, kind of everything kind of went opposite in the way I thought it was going to play out. However, it is week one. People are already saying fire Brian Johnson. Like it blows my mind the lengths that people jump to immediately We knew that it was going to be growing pains. None of these guys played in the preseason. The first 2 games, really, of the regular season now are more or less preseason games.
Yeah.
It just matters on how good your team is and how quick they are to adjust to real speed NFL play.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all it is. Like, again, Brian Johnson, new offensive coordinator. Sean Desai, new defensive coordinator. The defense, they got to play better. They just have to play better.
The O-line, or D-line did very well.
The O-line has to play better.
O-line has to play better.
Absolutely. Lane Johnson jokingly kind of said like the O-line was constipated for the game. And I mean, again, I said
their best player was Landon Dickerson.
Absolutely. Yes. 100% right.
One big mistake from him, but other than that, he was getting beat off the line.
Yes.
Cam Jurgens made a couple mistakes blocking the wrong guy. If you go back and look at it, yeah, no, there's.
I still think there's a question mark with him playing right guard.
We'll find out.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. But I said this in my blurb the other day. Is like everyone forgets what happened last year, week 1 against the Detroit Lions, when the Detroit Lions were supposed to be nobodies. Going into this season, people have them winning their division.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a completely different outlook on the defense or on the Detroit Lions from last season to this season, and we had trouble with the Detroit Lions in week 1. I mean, they won by 3 in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Hurts had worse passing stats in that game.
Yeah,
he played a better game week 1. Like like the stats don't lie, numbers don't lie, and they won by 5 this time instead of 3. And we are forgetting Bill Belichick is a defensive coach, one of the best to ever do it defensively. Overall head coach, doesn't matter. I mean, we're forgetting that the Patriots have a top 5 defense. They did last year. They're even stronger this year. I mean, this game was not surprising to me. I'm very happy they got out with the win. People are saying, "Oh, it was a toe tap or 1 foot from them losing." I don't believe that at all.
That wasn't a touchdown if he got that.
Exactly. There was also a call that the Eagles didn't go the Eagles' way, where he was in bounds and he was ruled out.
Yeah.
So I mean, we can't be looking at these
you can always be
little
1 or
things
2
here.
plays away from a win and a loss. It is what it is.
It absolutely is. I don't care what anyone says. Like, it's week 1. We should have all expected this, in my honest opinion. We're on the road. It's raining. We're playing, the Patriots, and I don't care if it was Tom Brady Day, so all the emotions were in the stadium. I mean, what else can we say here? I mean, the Eagles came out with the W, and to me, a win is a win.
Yeah, and that's what Jalen said, and for the most part, at the end of the season, that's what's going to get you in. I mean, I know I talked to Fred about it. I said I expect sloppiness. I kind of expect them to get a little bit better by the second half, so that's why I gave them the extra 5 points.
Sure.
But, I would have been close. I had 28-20. They won 25-20.
I had 27-17.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was close.
Oh, by the way, I thought it was funny because I said my score just typing it in. You said your score. And I was like, is this guy trying to, Price is Right me?
Yeah.
one digit ahead of mine?
You know me, always trying to undercut people. But
hey, man.
But, a couple storylines have come from this. An injury list to keep an eye on. Big losses in James Bradbury going out there, as well as Reed Blankenship.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, Kenny Gainwell. To me, people are talking about, oh, well, this was all
it's the DeAndre Swift game, baby.
Well, they're saying that's why Penny wasn't activated. They were saving him for this.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it was some ridiculousness going on around it. I mean, it was. Listen, it was a game that had a lot left to be desired.
Yeah.
But here, real quick, we're going to get into it in a second. But I remind you guys that this is brought to you by Sherry'sTickets.com. That's right, Sherry'sTickets.com. Sports, concerts, theaters, you name it, they got it. Joe went and bought his tickets. He went to Sherry'sTickets.com. That's what he was doing. Great prices, no hidden fees. And then on top of it, 10% off by using that great promo code EOP10. Again, the promo code is EOP10. Save 10% off already great prices at Sherry'sTickets.com. And if you're watching this up on the big screen like some people like to do, you scan that code right there on the screen for yourself, so you don't even have to type it in, Sherry'sTickets.com. My positives from this murky game, if you want to call it that, Jalen Carter could be legit.
Yes.
More legit than we expected. That's that one. Jordan Davis is answering a lot of questions and could be legit.
Forced fumble.
Yep. Team likes to create turnovers. I mean, outside of that, the defense did play very well there. Jake Elliott, player of the game.
Or NFC Player of the Week.
Special Teams
Player of the Week. Sorry.
Yeah. And the one thing I've said 1,000 times about not just the Eagles, but any team that's good or bad, good teams win bad games.
Yeah.
If they were a bad team, they probably would have lost this game. But
you're 100% right.
And at one point, Joe, did you ever feel like they were out of it?
No, not at all.
So that's my look at what I've seen from that
Milton Williams. I mean, these guys are developing. They're getting better with each game, each week.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't take anything. You can't take anything away from this defensive line. Yeah. And I mean, Haley preaches it. We all say it. Like, the trenches win you games. And unfortunately, one half of our trench wasn't playing great, but they will.
Yeah,
they will get back. And
I'm not worried about
people are saying me either. Everyone's saying Jalen Hurts is playing differently. Jalen Hurts went out there and maybe he played a little conservative, but again, it's week 1, and it's only going to get better from here. I have absolutely no problem. We heard some things were vanilla. They also have 2 games in 4 days.
Yeah,
I mean, there is a chance that they were, and I hate to say it this way because you want to go out there and put your best foot forward, your best effort every single game, but there is a chance that they save some stuff for this game.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't, a different type of style.
I don't think we're splitting hairs here.
You're looking at a defensive game versus an offensive game. Yes. in the Vikings. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, people are pounding their chest, getting like, you would have thought that we lost by 40. We were the Giants in this case.
You're right.
Joe, real quick before we move into that Vikings game, I had a question for you. In that
Giants
game,
suck.
Is the Giants that bad and the Cowboys that good, or a little bit of both? Cowboys defense.
I think it has to be both, because if you look at Dak Prescott's stats,
not great.
He was like 11 for like 30, or I'm sure I'm exaggerating just a bit. He was really bad. I mean, the score looked a lot more lopsided than the actual play on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Are the Giants that bad? Probably.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
To answer your question, he was actually 13 for 24 with 143 yards. Longest throw was 49, and that's it. No TDs. He had a passer rating of 72. He was ranked 25th in the league with his passer rating for this week. Jalen Hurts was in the middle of the group at 89.2. Mac Jones was right above him at 91.3. Kirk Cousins, actually, we're going to see, is 102.8.
Yeah.
And that's Kirk Cousins, so he is the king of stats. I say this all the time. Everybody knows my love for Kirk Cousins. He is the king of stats. If you're running a fantasy football team, great. Have him on there, especially if you do a 2-quarterback league. Go right for it. He's great for that. But if you're looking for your team to go to the playoffs and win some big games, he is not that guy for that.
Yeah.
You got a primetime game coming up. We know how that works out for Kirk Cousins.
The one quarterback that surprised me, I got to give him a little bit of credit. Some do. Brock Purdy played well, man. That Niners team looked good.
I honestly, that bad,
well, that's the thing. I mean, it was Steelers, their home opener. It's the first time they've had a home opener on their field in Pittsburgh since like 2014. It's been that long.
Really?
Yeah, it's been that long. So I thought the Steelers were going to come out with some more gusto. I mean, I know Watt's back there. I thought Kenny Pickett would have been playing better. I thought George Pickens would have been playing better.
I have Pittsburgh being a better team.
The Niners went out there, and the Niners have a new defensive coordinator as well. They went out there, and they really played well. And the whole time I'm watching, I'm going, this week after they win this game, it's not going to be what the Steelers did. It's not going to be what the Niners did to the Steelers. It's going to be what the Niners can now do to the Eagles because of the Eagles game. That's honestly what I was thinking during that game. I was like, this week 1 Steelers game has nothing to do with what they're going to be talking about going into week 2. It's still going to be the comparison of the Eagles and the Niners. And from some of the things I've heard, that's exactly what it was.
Well, let them base off what they did against the Pittsburgh Steelers, because that means anything against another team. And like I said, look, you got Cleveland, who won their game against the Bengals and Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Seattle lost. The Broncos and the Raiders won. The Raiders are 1-0. I mean, this is week 1. It's like teams who go undefeated in the preseason. It means
the Ravens.
Yeah,
they've been undefeated for the past 20 years in the preseason.
Yeah. It means nothing.
No.
Absolutely nothing to anything else.
Before we jump into this week's game, there is one thing I want to touch on, is the Aaron Rodgers thing.
Okay.
I mean, 3-4 snaps into the game after Hard Knocks, the hype, the Super Bowl odds. The fans absolutely going nuts, saying, and this is bigger than Joe Namath's the era in New York. And I mean, I really felt bad for those Jets fans. And then they pull out the win against the Bills, the true New York team on 9/11.
Yeah.
But the Bills, I mean, of course, it was more of a Josh Allen 5 turnover type of thing. But hell, the punt return in overtime, I mean, the Jets pulled that out. And again, I don't know how you feel, but I talk crap on Aaron Rodgers all
I
the
know you're not a
time.
big fan.
All the time. But I really feel bad for not only the fan base, but I do feel bad for Aaron Rodgers because he was going around like saying how sorry he was to the players.
Yeah,
I mean, this could be career ending.
It could be. He was doing his interview. We saw a lot of the interviews they were doing on Sunday early on, like 11 a.m. and stuff like that. And I'll be honest with you, I was getting a little nauseated over all the Aaron Rodgers talk. I mean, it could have been anybody. It could have been even Jalen Hurts. And I'd be like, all right, guys, there's more to going on this week than this game.
Right.
But they were talking about how he even admitted that he kind of created this persona of being selfish and greedy. And he, like you said, he was apologizing.
I think that's one of the reasons why he gave like $35 million back.
Yeah, and like I think, it sucks to see a guy because listen, he's going to probably be a Hall of Famer.
Oh yeah, he's first ballot.
First ballot, possible. I don't know about yeah, I guess
Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, he's first ballot.
I guess so.
That's me saying it.
I know. So I don't ever want to see it, but man, the commercials that I've seen for the NFL script reading, by the way, are hilarious. I think they're funny as hell. But I'm like, oh my God, it makes you think, like, what kind of, you can't write that.
No.
You hype this guy up. You hype up this thing. Oh, he's going to the Jets, turn the Jets around. So the best thing that happened for New York and the Jets.
Oh, God.
And he 4 plays in and he rips his Achilles.
He comes out running out the tunnel with the American flag, looking so patriotic. It was very cool, very badass. Mm-hmm. And then he went down within plays.
Yeah.
Within plays. And it's funny because there is a bar. There's a bar that was saying everyone in free beer. The bar will cover the tab if the Jets lose. So as soon as Aaron Rodgers went down, I can't remember if it was in Green Bay. I'm pretty sure that it was. Maybe it's just somewhere in Wisconsin. But this bar was saying free beer if the Jets lose. So everyone there, Aaron Rodgers goes down. And the beer tabs start flying up.
Wow.
They start flying up. Everyone's
what a bet. What a bet to take on yourself.
Everyone's going nuts, getting loose, bottoms up everybody. And then that overtime and like they had like the bar held them to it. Like they kept track of everyone's tab and like everybody has to pay their stuff now. How great is that?
You were talking about rolling the dice on your stuff on that one.
How great is that?
It's
I love crazy, that story,
but it's a sad story because you were really hoping that
I wanted to see a good game, to be honest with you. I mean, we did, but I wanted to see Rodgers versus Allen,
and I want to see how Zach Wilson can.
That's another thing. Like he's thrown in. He's this, he's now forced to be the starter. But, all the reports are saying that they're still out there looking for a quarterback. There was the Colin Kaepernick, Kaepernick stuff earlier, which they're not going for, which is not surprising at all. But, all right, Carson Wentz, they bring him in. Is he going to be competing with Zach Wilson? Is Matt Ryan going to come in and compete? What's going to happen now? Is Wilson supposed to go every week in and out, not knowing if he's going to be the starting quarterback or not? I mean, that sucks.
My thing is you just drafted the guy.
Yeah.
Might as well run with him. I mean, what do you got to lose at this point?
Yeah. They have a good defense too. I mean, they can win some games.
They can, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not counting them out, but it is definitely a kick in the dinghy moving forward for them. But we'll get into a little bit of the NFL talk.
Sure.
I want to at the end of the show maybe we could do an old fashioned pick'ems real quick or something, talk about it. But let's look at this matchup real quick, and I'll remind you guys that this matchup is brought to you by PhillySportsTrips.com. They were just in New England. Tomorrow they have a tailgate down at the stadium. Well, if you guys want to travel with them again, the next big one is the Tampa trip coming up, heading out to that'll be at the game after this one. So a little reprieve. You're gonna head out to Tampa. Nice warm weather in there. We'll check out Florida. Hollis Thomas, Vince Papale, David Akers, the local Philly of the South Club will be there. It's just gonna be an amazing time. I always tell you guys, great food, great time, great seats, great tickets, great everything. But the best thing of all is the experience. You'll never get another experience like you get at PhillySportsTrips.com. Check them out. PhillySportsTrips.com. So, Joe,
Yeah.
looking at this matchup,
Mm-hmm.
where if you're Nick Sirianni,
Mm-hmm.
you're coming up with the game plan. It's the Monday after the Patriots game. Right, we're looking at the Vikings game. You went and watched the game a few times. Where do you attack the Vikings and how?
First off, big FU to the Vikings because they killed my parlay against those Bucks. But other than that, I honestly just think Sean Desai is going to be extra aggressive because you can obviously get through to Kirk Cousins. I guess I'll just start with the defensive side of the ball. Josh Jobe going in to replace Bradbury, I got no problem with. I really don't. I mean, he's obviously going to play on Jordan Addison.
Not on an everyday situation, but yeah.
Of course. But I can only assume that he's going to be on rookie Jordan Addison, which I'm sure he'll lock up. When he came in to replace Bradbury last week, he was targeted like 3, 4, 5 times, 0 receptions, 0 yards given up. I mean, we saw him make big plays on special teams. You see some of those hits that he had on special teams last week?
Yep.
This guy's a baller. This guy can play. It's his second year in the league, and I do think that I'm not going to say he can come in and do as an efficient job as Bradbury, but because of the talent he's going to be covering in this game, I think he's just going to be fine. Of course, Darius Slay is going to be on Justin Jefferson a majority of the time, depending on where they line him up. I mean, it's Darius Slay, and I'm not going to sit here and be naive and say Justin Jefferson is not going to get his yards because he will. Yeah, I think he had like 130 in the first half last year, or last game. He's going to get his yards. But outside of that, I mean, what the hell is the running back's name? Alexander Madison.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about him at all. I want to say KJ Osborne is the other guy. I don't even remember who Irv Smith, their tight end. Like a lot of their offensive weapons outside of Justin Jefferson, I know that our defense will be able to contain.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes on the offensive side of the ball, I think Jalen Hurts is going to have a much better game. And I think he's going to have a better throwing game opposed to running because I do think that they're going to try and get the ball into, the running back's hands more often, especially DeAndre Swift, who I think he only had 1 or 2 backfield snaps last game. Rashad Penny, he should be active if he's not already. And Boston Scott, I mean, these guys are going to get thrown into the mix. I mean, what else can I say about Dallas Goedert had 1 target last week? He's going to get a big bump. A.J. Brown is A.J. Brown. Devontae Smith is Devontae Smith. I'm not worried about an Eagles offense. If the only part of the offense needs to improve is Jalen Hurts' performance, I know he's going to be able to do that. So I have no worries about either side of the ball right now.
Good friend of the show here, Pat Connery, is asking who's at safety this week?
Sidney Brown. Got to be Sidney Brown.
And Joe, that was one of those kind of head scratchers. You only saw him in a couple special teams plays. He didn't get any snaps on the ball. Do you thrust him out there at safety?
I don't know what else you do because I'm not putting my trust in Justin Evans. I'm not putting. I mean, I want to see Terrell Edmonds play a little bit more, but I do think that Sidney Brown deserves the first rep at it. I really do.
I would love to see Sidney Brown. I wonder if is it.
I mean, I'm a big fan of Sidney Brown as it is. So
yeah,
of course I'm saying him.
Is it Terrell Edmonds though?
I mean, yeah, I think he's going to get more playing time.
Yeah.
There's going to be more snaps available with Reed out because I mean, Reed was the quote unquote like the quarterback out there on defense this past week after Nakobe Dean went down.
Okay.
So they're going to need some experience back there anyway. So I mean, Sidney Brown will be out there, but they're going to need the experience of Justin Evans and Terrell Edmonds out there as well. So there's going to be plenty of snaps to go around. But I do think that Sidney Brown's going to get a big look this week.
You would have thought he would have got a little bit more, maybe because things got tight after a bit. They weren't going to do it. Like I would have thought they would have at least, if you had any plans of putting him out there in game 2, you would have given him a couple snaps in game 1.
Yeah,
that was one of those head scratching decisions, kind of like that, and the no looks to Dallas Goedert. Was one of the other head scratchers from last week. But
I'm almost more worried about the linebacker position. Nakobe Dean played pretty well before he went down. He had the green dot. He was the one calling the plays. They're saying Christian Ellis will probably have the green dot,
Yeah.
especially because Reed Blankenship is out this week. But then again, I mean, can Zach Cunningham take that next step forward? Does Nolan Smith, drop back and play more linebacker? I mean, I don't know. I don't really know what the answer is
Yeah,
here.
there's a couple plays Zach Cunningham was out of position when he played.
Zach Cunningham did have the fumble recovery.
Yeah, I listen. I give him where I give him, but
Yeah.
he was out of position. I mean, listen. Again, it's all relative. It's all new. It's all fresh. If I was going to tell you my keys to the game, Joe, you've already alluded to it. You kind of touched on it more. It is on the defense, but it is at that defensive line. They're dealing with some injuries as well. I think as of this afternoon, their center Garrett Bradbury is out for the game, and Christian Darrisaw is, I guess, game time decision.
Yeah.
He was limited to, as of yesterday or late last night, he limited practice. So I don't know what it was today for him. But he's dealing with a bad ankle, as we know, which is really difficult when you're playing an offensive tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Their O-line didn't scare me before they had injuries. And if Carter, Davis, Milton, Reddick, Graham, all these guys can play like we know they can play, I honestly think that's where they win this game. Because then you don't have to worry about a Josh Jobe on Addison, or you don't have to worry about this. Maybe you feel more comfortable putting out a Sidney Brown. If these guys we all know if you get pressure on him. I mean, even the great Tom Brady, they always said that if you wanted to beat him, you had to get pressure on him. That's with any quarterback. We saw it with Jalen Hurts last week, and that's what happened to him.
Yeah.
He had no time. The O-line was giving him any time. He had no time to react. They were the one thing I worry right there, not to change the subject, but this team, we saw it last year, even late into last year, they don't know how to defend against the blitz. They don't know. And I mean, it seems like if you just send the house towards them, one extra guy, hopefully with Penny and DeAndre Swift, if they activate Penny,
right,
they're going to be able to block for him.
I mean, they have to, right?
Yeah,
I mean, they're not going to go out there just with Swift and Scott, right?
Yeah, I would imagine. So I mean, that's my thing. That's my keys to the game right there. My key to the game really is Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. Just continuing what they did in week one, because like I said, I mean, the Patriots had some O-line issues as well, injuries that they were dealing with, so that could play a factor into it. But if you get to Kirk Cousins and get in his face, that's when he starts throwing picks. That's when he starts getting scared, and then he's off his game pretty quickly.
Yeah, if you get to him fast and get him off his rocker, and I've been I don't know how to say this. I don't want to say I've been a fan of Kirk Cousins, but I have been on the side of that he's really not that bad of a quarterback. I'd say he's like if there's like a line of like above average elite, like he's like right under it.
So he's 14, not 15, is what you're saying.
He's somewhere. Like, he's around like I'd say he's somewhere between 10 and 14. I mean, he can come out and he can win a game for you, or he can come out and lose a game for you. I mean, you can say that about any team or any quarterback, but I don't think. And of course, there's the whole prime time stuff, and I know it doesn't look good on paper for him, but I don't think he's that bad of a quarterback. I don't.
One prime time game.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like
high scoring game coming. I can say it. Yeah.
You agree with that?
But this is I do, and I'll be honest with you. I'll say it now before we get predictions. I really felt the past couple of days the Eagles were going to lose this game.
But this Vikings game?
Yeah, okay. I did. And I don't know if it was just because the short week or because of the woes of the Patriots game or whatever it was. Maybe I just wasn't feeling it at that moment. But then I dig into this game. I dig into their roster more, and I see the tape from their game against the Bucs, and of course what my eye saw on Sunday with the Eagles. And I just don't see how they lose the game. But I was very close to thinking the Vikings were going to take this. But it could be very high scoring. But I just don't know who the hell scores for the Vikings outside of Jefferson.
Yeah.
I just don't.
And like I said, we're not going to get the same game as we did last year with Slay. He had one catch for 6 targets and 7 yards, Justin Jefferson, last year. That's not going to happen again. But it's all about...
Well, maybe.
It's all about... See, a lot of people have been losing because of the short week, like you said, Joe. But I also had a lot of people thinking the reason behind it was because the Vikings lost already. And they're not going to come out 0-2. I'm like...
Yeah, but they are on the road, so...
I get it, but I don't think they lose. I don't think it's gonna. I think there's still be maybe a little sloppiness, little growing
Well,
pains or whatever you want to call
I'll
it.
say this: last year, week 2 at home, we played the Vikings as well, and I thought that was going to be a really hard game for the Eagles as well, and they came out and won like 38-7. So maybe
Yeah.
this is just the feeling I need going in, even though it's a short week and last year's it was on Monday night. I mean, maybe this is just the feeling I need going into tomorrow night for, for them to really come out on top and play well.
Virgil line comes to life. D gets picked apart early in the season. No need to panic. Won't be as dominant, but still a contender. We were spoiled last season. Yeah, Pat, it's a
Yeah.
good point. I do think we got a little spoiled. I don't think they were going to come out and win 15 games.
It's not going to be 14-3 again.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be more like 11-6.
I'm going 12-5.
12-5, 11-6. Yeah.
Don't forget it's Vikings in prime time there where they struggle. Now, I mean, you got to play.
No, it's true.
You got to play that into consideration. Absolutely. But I mean, going into last year's game, the Vikings game, it was all about how the Vikings were going to just own us.
Right.
Just own us. So maybe you're right, Joe. Maybe it is what we need is to feel like we're going to be down that underdog, that mentality that the Eagles and strive upon. But
and honestly,
I don't see this loss. It's hard for me to see it. Maybe
it's hard.
Maybe
it's hard to say.
Maybe that's just my disdain for Kirk Cousins and just thinking how overhyped he is and knowing it, and it just seems to be right when I call it. He has like one good game where he wins when he shouldn't, like last year's Buffalo game when they wallop the Bills. I mean, was it Dallas? I forget.
They beat Dallas pretty good.
Yeah. So, yeah. You like that? Ever since then, man, it's been downhill for him since he said that. But yeah, no, I really, Joe. I mean, if you want to get in your predictions.
Let's wait.
Okay, we'll wait on that. Like you said, Christian Ellis most likely be filling in for Nakobe Dean. Nicholas Morrow is moved to the active roster, and newcomer from the Titans practice squad, Rashawn Evans, is now on the practice squad.
Yeah, I'm very confused with that because why are they putting him on the practice squad if they plan on activating him anyway? Like, does he have to?
I think it's the roster spots.
Then who the hell do they bring? I mean, well, if
they have 2 roster spots they can use, and one of them has to go to Sipos. So what do? You have to figure out where you're going with that. Guys,
well, hold on
real quick. For those who are chiming in,
we don't have to talk about this.
We have to mention the Phillies lost, and the Braves are out celebrating their postseason berth on Citizens Bank Park grass. If this does not get this team, I almost welcome this, Joe. I almost welcome this. We'll get into it in a minute.
Yeah.
Go ahead and finish your sentence.
I don't even remember where I was.
Sorry. You want to change gears here for a second?
Sure.
All right, we can change gears and go over a little Phillies talk. Because like I said, guys, the Phillies just lost. They lost 3 out of 4.
That's stupid.
They lost 3 out of 4 games. We're going to talk about how they lost these games.
Good, Nick. Watch it. I hope this makes you feel like crap. Oh, that's where I was going to go. Maybe the Eagles, coming out after the game. Sorry, not to jump back to it. And this will be the last thing I say. Maybe the Eagles coming out and talking about how they came out stale, constipated, playing like shite. Maybe this is the feeling they need going into Thursday to get their tails in gear and come out and start off hot. Back to the Phillies.
All right, back to the Phillies. So,
yeah, Nick, I hope you feel like crap.
Well, listen, I hope they are watching this because nothing burns more than you're sitting there, you're trying to get in the postseason, then a divisional rival, one that you have such.
I mean, this was going to happen regardless. We just didn't want it to happen here.
Well, we just we wanted to lose them to lose tonight and have to
do the shirts here.
Shirts and hats, man.
Jerks.
They're the division winners now. They can't lose the division. I hope they're watching it. I really do hope. I like how the Phillies just cut it off right there.
Yeah.
They're like, we're not watching this. Nobody wants to watch this.
Can you believe it's been 7 years in a row?
For the Braves?
Yeah. They've won a division 7 years in a row.
And they won.
Where has this 7 years gone? I don't remember them being this good for the past 7 years.
Well, it makes sense. I mean,
I know the Phillies haven't been good, but I didn't.
Before Harper was here, I mean, the Mets weren't that great either. And then the Mets had every chance last year of being the division leader, and then
I knew this was going to be an L.
It just felt that way. It felt that way.
Felt like an L day. Sanchez versus Strider.
But Joe, I'm 100% with you. I hope If I'm sitting there, if I'm Rob Thompson, I'm locking the door to going back in, from the dugout, and I'm watching this. I'm watching it. I'm sitting there. I'm staring at you. And I'm like, you guys.
Ricky Bo looks like he's dressed for a funeral. I mean, what are we doing here?
It's because he was on his show earlier. But I hope I hope Topper locks the door to the locker room. Just you guys are gonna sit here and watch this. Just you're gonna watch this. I'm not saying you guys are a bad guy, a bad team, but you guys didn't do well against these guys. 3 out of 4 you lost. You had 2 games where you came back with some magic, but the second they didn't win that, so last night for anybody who missed it, they were down. Harper hits 1,500 hit of his career, which is also a home run. Kind of put some rejuvenation back in this team. Here comes Bryson Stott with a 2-run homer. They're one run behind, and then in the 9th inning, the magic of Trey Turner, which we're going to touch upon a little bit, continues, and he ties the game. It's the 9th inning, no outs, 2 guys on. You got JT Realmuto going up there, hacking away, missing completely. 3 pitches, whiffed on every one of those. What are the odds, Joe, that a player whiffs on it 3 times in 3 pitches in Major League Baseball?
I mean, for the Phillies in September, it's just par for the course. I mean, I don't know. Like, did anybody expect? There's no outs. Did anybody expect Realmuto to bunt? No. Should he have? Probably.
I heard a stat today has not bunted since 2005.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, you're gonna put him out,
right?
And then they're like, well, you should have put Stubbs in and let him bunt.
He's so hot right now.
Yeah, he is so hot right now. But I mean, you had every opportunity to win last night's game. You had every opportunity to win the night before. So if you want to take your moral victories to the bank, you could do that. You could sit like people say, well, they did this last year. They were dominant last year, and they couldn't come here and play. Well, you can't bank on that every year.
Not at all.
No,
not at all. And how I said earlier, I bought my postseason tickets. Like, in the back of my mind, I am thinking there's a chance I'm not going to a wild card game because there's a chance they play it on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the Cubs did, but I would have to say that it's tied, right? Mm-hmm. Half game or tied. I mean, the Phillies could be out of.
We're 1.5 games over the Cubs right now.
Really?
According to the.
Is that updated from the loss though?
That's on the screen on the Phillies.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
Right below there, where Crooker's talking.
I see it now.
So 1.5 games lead over the Wild Cubs. Are they? While you're doing that, let me see if the Cubs are playing.
I mean, what time is it? It's 9:00. They probably are playing. I mean, they're in Chicago. If they're playing at home, they play an hour later than us anyway.
They lost today to the Rockies.
Okay.
So they lost 7-3 to the Rockies.
The Phillies just dodged a bullet.
The Giants won today over the Guardians. Anything else that really affects us? Cardinals are beating up on the Orioles. That doesn't really matter. Nats, Pirates.
Why can we just never have a September where it's like, smooth sailing?
It's not going to happen. Yankees game is still delayed.
When I try and think about these things, my mind just goes to mush, and I try and force things out of my mouth, and then I end up going because I have no idea what to say.
The only other game that's going to go on that might have any anything in the standings for us, but not as much, is the San Diego game has not started yet. Okay. They're playing the Dodgers out on the West Coast there, so that's why that has not started. But other than that, actually,
6th straight. Sorry, it was 7th. I thought it was 7th.
Miami is up 1-0 on the Brewers in the middle of the 6th in Milwaukee. So looking at the wild card things, they are 1.5 games out.
I'm only worried about Cubs and Phillies at this point because I want the Phillies to play at home. I mean, I think that's the main concern at this point, not the fact that they might not make the play. They're 5 games up.
Is JT Realmuto catching those games because you may not want. That's what it feels like. You know what I mean? I mean, there's
we were halfway through September last year. And they get swept by the Cubs, and we're sitting here going, they may not even deserve to make the playoffs.
I remember you saying that.
And now here we are again. Do I think that deserves? Of course. Do I think they're going to make the playoffs? Of course. But I am now locked in that I need them to play the wild card at home. They've been atop of this wild card for weeks now, and the only people who can take this away from them are themselves. Mm-hmm. The Cubs aren't winning every game. The Diamondbacks aren't winning every game. The Marlins ain't winning every game. Obviously, the Phillies aren't winning every game.
Yeah.
And it's the Phillies' top spot to lose. And I think that'll be the biggest kicker of it all, because it's not the fact that all these other ball clubs are playing, top-notch ball, and the Phillies are playing 500 ball. Like, that's not it. These other teams are losing as well, and the Phillies are very lucky about that.
Sure.
Very lucky.
And it is a 1.5 game lead, but technically I think it's a 2.5.
They have the tiebreaker.
Yeah. So it gives us a little bit of a leeway unless somebody overtakes them that we don't have the tiebreaker with. So just kind of looking into the future, like you're saying, Joe.
It's maddening, man.
Yeah,
it's maddening.
So now they're down to the last 20 games. This is it. 20 games left for the season. They have the Cardinals this weekend, and they're back in Atlanta, which burns a little bit, because if they have a rough stretch like they did with them here, I mean, it really puts them behind the eight ball.
They have Atlanta, the Mets who want to play spoiler, the Pirates coming here, and then the Mets again who want to play spoiler.
Yep.
I mean, come on.
Yep, there's your wild card standing update. Phillies, Cubs, Diamondback, Giants are looking in at 1.
I forgot about
them,
the
and the Reds are staring in at 1, with the Marlins at 1.5. So it's still
they got to sweep the Cardinals. That's just it. Yeah. They have to.
I mean, they have to win. They can't win the series.
Because it's almost like, all right, go sweep the Cardinals, go to Atlanta, lose your 3. That evens out. I mean, that's the way you have to look at it right now. Unless the Braves start resting people.
I mean, the Phillies right now are 4-6 in their last 10.
I mean, it's almost 500, and I know some of them are on the road, but
still,
can't
have that. Arizona somehow is in the 3rd spot at -17 differential.
That's because their division's awful.
Jesus. Well, outside the Dodgers.
Well, yeah.
But any update on Reese? Nothing that they really have any substantiated.
No.
Like, I think it's a pipe dream to think. And even if he does, like, he's gonna have any time to play.
It's like, who are you taking out of the roster? Like, I wouldn't even want Jake Cave out of the roster for Reese at this point.
Yeah, he would have to come back like in the next few days and play for 15 games.
You're not bringing him in ice cold.
Yeah.
And what's he gonna? What would he play? Because you're not taking Bryce Harper out of first base unless, I guess. No, I'm sorry. No, let me rephrase that. It's the playoffs. You are not taking Bryce Harper out of first base, regardless if it's Alec Boehm you want to put over there. Bryce Harper plays the position all playoffs. That's all that matters.
I think in the postseason he plays every.
He has to. He's Bryce frickin' Harper. He's the best.
Mike wants to know, can Robbie motivate the team? That's part of his job as a manager. Mike is, for anybody who does a fighting final with me, he is not a huge Rob Thompson fan.
Okay.
And which is fine. And
it's a Philly thing. I like it.
I get it. But these players play, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's the end of it. Like, I mean, you got the top of your lineup is playing really well. You got Turner, Harper, Stott.
Stott's been he's been non-existent in September.
Yeah, he's been a little cold, but he had that big home run the other night.
Sure.
Turner and Harper have been your big pieces. Nick Castellanos,
rightfully so.
Nick Castellanos is kind of getting those bad habits again, but he
had a homer the other night. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's still going up there swinging at whatever. JT needs to get whatever his head out. If those guys can get together, then Brandon Marsh doesn't.
I mean, let's not forget. I mean, he did show up in the playoffs last year. He did have that inside the Parker against the Braves.
Yeah, but remember, I want to remind everybody this, because I have this conversation with everybody. And before I remind you of what I'm about to talk about, I'm going to remind you of one great thing is the cherryinjurylaw.com. That's right, David R. Cherry is your man. If you get hurt at work, motor vehicle, personal injury, criminal law, these are all life-altering situations. You need a good lawyer who's going to fight for your rights. Our guy, the guy, David R. Cherry. Call him at 610-565-0300. Again, the phone number is 610-565-0300, or go to cherryinjurylaw.com. Things had to break our way a lot of ways. Like you said, Joe, if it wasn't for the DH becoming universal last year, if it wasn't for the 3rd wild card spot, we wouldn't even have a playoff berth to talk about. We wouldn't have a World Series run to talk about. All right, let's get past that for a second. They had to come back at the end of that Cardinals game. They were down with 3 or 2-0 or something like that going at the end of the first Cardinals game.
Yeah.
And they had to come back, and in 2 outs, they were down the last out, and they had to come back and win it, and then they won the next game, of course. And we all know how that played out. It took a while. Reese was still cold that whole time.
Mm-hmm.
If it was not for Bryce Harper, who literally, if you do not believe in a clutch gene, that man has it. That man is I mean, come on. How much more clutch can you be? How many clutch hits has that man had over the last 2 months?
And another thing that I think a lot of people are forgetting is not only are we trying to stay above the Cubs for that first spot, if if the teams reverse, we're playing in Chicago. We are playing the Cubs.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't forget that. We don't want we do not want to go on the road
Yeah.
with a team that was so dire at the trade deadline that they almost sold away everybody. They don't trade Cody Bellinger, and then they go on this absolute run, and now here they are in the number 2 spot in the wild card. I, for one, do not want to go in Chicago and play that team.
They're hot.
Yeah.
No, I don't blame you. But and also if you fall down to Chicago and everything else kind of stays the same, and you could do that over this weekend very easily with some bad games. You got Arizona, Cincinnati, San Fran, and Miami all within, and Arizona all within 2.5 games.
Yeah.
And then you're going to go play Atlanta. So that's what makes this, like you said earlier, makes this Cardinal series even that much more must win. And hopefully they don't have that mentality where it kind of gets in their way. But that they need to. They need to win this series. A sweep would be amazing, but they need to win this series because if you lose this series, I'll just say win one game over the weekend, and you go back to, and then you're going to Atlanta, and you're going to struggle against them. You could honestly, Atlanta could talk about playing spoilers. They could say they swept us. We could be out of the wild card by that point. I mean, that could happen. Like it's real. Like we've all kind of considered it's just going to happen. It's just going to happen. Which, if we just continue to win series, we'll be fine from here on out. And on paper, we have every opportunity to. But the Pirates
every series, but that Atlanta one.
Yeah.
I mean, the Phillies have to be the favorites, right?
If they can survive that Atlanta one, yeah, I mean, they could beat the Mets, they could beat the Pirates. But like you said, you get the Mets in 7 of these last 20 games. All right. I mean, half of these, 10 of these games are between divisional players, divisional teams. I mean, unless the Braves lie down a couple of their players, don't let their pitchers go as deep. Maybe bring guys in, give guys a break just so they can keep them well rested and cruise control the rest of the way through. I mean, Atlanta is at 96. They're only 4 games away from being at 100.
Yeah.
And, I mean, this team has every opportunity to be like a 105 plus win team. So they might want to go for that. I don't know. It depends on how they have it, but I don't think they're going to lay down against the Phillies and let us just continue to cruise because you don't think they don't remember what happened to them last year. We remembered. They remember it, and they're not going to sit there and allow this.
Well, one of
team
the
to do
differences is Spencer Strider's healthy right now. He wasn't healthy in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some differences.
How are we on the mustache?
I think
That's Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds' mustache.
I think he's a loser. I think he's like one of those guys. I just think he's one of those guys who is like, oh, here's this platform. Let me go be unique. Let me be a mustache guy. Like, stop it. Come on.
I love these 25-year-old guys that try to look like 55, 60-year-old Burt Reynolds.
Dude's a
they all have my Uncle Tom mustache.
He's a hipster mustache wannabe.
But some of the bright notes.
Are there any bright notes? If the Phillies would have won yesterday or won tonight and split the series, I think my attitude would be completely different.
Oh, absolutely, Joe. I remember I'm watching the game last night. I'm doing homework with my kids. I put it on mute, like in the background, and I look up, and as this when Zach Wheeler starts to fall apart, I'm like, I don't even want to watch. I'm going to pay 100% attention to it. Click, turn it off. I actually had to drive here to the studio to pick something up I left here. I'm driving back home, and that's when it all started to break loose. And I'm like, and I'm just like, and I'm thinking to myself as I'm pulling in my driveway, I'm like gathering all my stuff and I need to get in and put the TV on. I'm saying like how my attitude and mood has just shifted, and then of course the big letdown just shifted it right back. I mean, I think I tweeted out. I said I went through or something like that. I went through more emotions in one 3 or 4 inning stretch than most fans do in a year. But my point is, I guess the Bryce Harper is one of the bright spots. Trey Turner. I mean, we all thought. Let's be honest. When we had that good vibe moment, like okay, this may fizzle out in a couple of weeks. He has been dominant ever since. Like he has not stopped. Joe, you posted today 10 games, just in the last 10 games. A .419 batting average with 18 hits, 7 home runs, 15 ribbies and 13 runs scored. I mean, come on, man. Like, you can't ask for anything more than that.
I know.
And
just the 10 games too,
Joe.
And this has been going on since August 4th.
If I told you coming into the season that Trey Turner's going to hit 25-ish home runs, you consider that a good season for him, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's 26.
Right.
On top of
I think on August 4th he had like 9.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, that's the tear he's been on for the past month and a half.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the craziness. This guy, if you think about it, he just had a steady season, not like this whole the whole time.
This run, yeah.
He could be upwards almost behind Ray Schwarber.
I know.
Oh,
by the way, cool thing Schwarber did do yesterday was when Olsen hit his 50th.
Oh yeah.
He went up to the crowd and said, "Hey, can you give the ball back?
I'll sign a ball for you or something."
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and I thought that was really cool that they got that ball back for him. And even the Braves came out after the game and said, a class sack by Kyle Schwarber getting the ball for Matt Olsen. So I think that's really cool.
Also tonight, I don't know if you noticed, Stubbs was in tonight, but didn't have to be in tonight. Is this a sit down?
Yes, and to answer Mike's question from earlier, do I think Thompson can go up and light a fire on these guys? I just don't think that's the type of skip that Rob Thompson is. Like, he's very cool, he's very collective, he's very somber. I guess I want to say somber.
Nurturing.
He shows no real emotion. He's
not kicking over coolers.
Right. Like he's probably like going up to like Schwarber or Harper or one of the leaders in the locker room, and he's like, "Hey, well, how about you light a fire in these guys' asses?" Like something like that. Like, he's not going out there like Lou Brown of Major League, and getting all throwing stuff and going nuts. Yeah, I love this British shit. That's such a great line. But yeah, like, he's not going in there and tossing around water coolers to get this team fired up. That's just not the skip that he is. He lets these guys go out there, figure it out, and kind of fend for themselves, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, right now, my biggest fear, Remuto, I agree with you. I think he'll get himself straightened out.
Yeah,
the rest of them, I'm not really worried about. It's the inconsistency of the pitching that really, I would say, scares me right now.
They're going to make some adjustments though, and they're gonna tighten up the starting rotation. Lorenzen, Sanchez, they'll move to the bullpen. That'll give them some long guys in there. I think it's going to be a different look, a different feel for this rotation and the relievers in the playoffs, if they make it.
Yeah, right.
But I didn't even watch the game last. I'm sorry, I didn't. I turned it on for the extras because last night was, and I don't know if you want to segue into this real quick. Last night was the premiere of Kelsey, the documentary.
Sure.
And
yeah, we'll talk about that in one second.
Yeah.
Mike's saying first baseman Matt Olsen for the Braves. Bats fourth in their lineup, batting average 281, 51 RBIs, 128 batting leadoff. Kyle Schwarber stats 199, 43 home runs, and 94 RBIs. I get what you're saying. I really do. And the argument, Mike, is not going on deaf ears, but it's just, I don't want to.
It's a moot point.
No, it's not even just that. I don't want to say it's just the way it is, but it kind of is. It's a weird anomaly.
Yeah.
I guess I wish I could have a good explanation, but whatever it is, the man tends to thrive better in that position. The analytics show it to them, and it is what it is. I don't like giving a person that answer.
Austin Riley put it in Ashburn Alley.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I didn't even see that. I didn't see that earlier. Oh my God, that's a shot. That's a shot, man.
And that was high up in the zone too.
Yeah.
Thank God he's tall. So, Mike, I'm not disagreeing with you. My thought process: you put a guy like Kyle Schwarber in your fourth or fifth spot, but he doesn't thrive there. Just doesn't, and he hasn't. It's not just been here; it's been Chicago. I mean, it's been. I think he did a little bit in Washington too, right?
Who, Schwarber?
Yeah,
he was the Red Sox, and
but was he leading off?
And Cubs, yeah,
he was leading off the time. So my point is,
this isn't like the first team that he was a leadoff for.
No.
Not at all.
And like I said,
it's a third or fourth.
You just look at the guy. The first thing that pops in your head, Mike, is like, put him in the fourth or fifth spot. I mean, the guy's blasting home runs. Why not? I mean, the way Trey,
and it also helps with the way that Trey's hitting behind them right now.
Yeah,
because he's gonna get the pitches that he wants to see, or they're gonna walk him,
or
they're gonna pitch around them. That's just the way it is.
The number Olsen has are numbers Schwarber should have. Yeah,
he's close in home runs.
Yeah, I mean, I get that too, Mike. They should have, but that's why this is sports and baseball. It doesn't always work out. It's like I coach football, and I was telling the kids like they're like, well, those kids are bigger than us. And I'm like, yeah, but if it's always the biggest guy won, just whoever has the tallest group of guys are going to win every time. There's nothing to it.
And I think this is something that we say to her basically blue in the face is like Schwarber batting with nobody in front of him happens one time a game. Unless he's leading off the inning. But you know what I'm saying? Like the 7, 8, 9 hole hitter could also be on base when Schwarber's up there at bat hitting these home runs. Like it's not like he's consistently having guys not on base. Like that's just not it. Like there's only one time where he is leading off a game and nobody has the potential to be on base in front of him.
I agree. Like I said, I don't. If I'm managing, I don't know if I'm sticking with that or not. I don't know.
They've already seen him. I don't even bother at this. I mean, not that they will bother at this point. I just mean his tenure as a Philly. Let it go.
Yeah. One thing is Rob did say during his interview today on WIP, he pretty much announced who the starting pitching rotation would be. They said after tonight they're going to go back to the 5-man.
Mm-hmm.
So they pretty much said Wheeler, Nola, Walker, Suarez, which is I don't know, a shocker to anybody, especially the way especially the way Lorenzen's been playing. And so you guessing you're sending Sanchez and Lorenzen?
I think yeah.
Then so
I don't know how you take the ball because otherwise I guess Suarez would be the only one else who really has bullpen, experience.
Yeah.
But who would you take out of your starting rotation to replace Ranger? I mean, is it Lorenzen or is it Sanchez? I could have an argument for Sanchez. Absolutely.
I could.
But I do think that it's Ranger's spot. In fact, I would even put Ranger in front of Taijuan Walker. Walker's been pitching in the 4-hole majority of the season. He gets batted around, but he's got the most wins on the team. Like they go out and they put runs up for him, for whatever reason.
And I mentioned this when they first got Lorenzen, and now the way that things are kind of playing out, knowing that most of not all these guys have struggled come the second time around in the batting order, 4th, 5th inning, that they like having a Sanchez and a Lorenzen. So say Nola does have a fall apart 4th inning, they can have a shorter leash 100%. On him. Then you can go throw Sanchez in for a couple innings or
100%.
I don't like the thought process of doing that, but I mean,
Aaron pitched pretty well in the playoffs last year. I can't sit here and just tear him down and say he's going to be inconsistent,
And he did have a great
continuing into the playoffs. Yeah. I mean, getting into the playoffs is a whole different monster. Anything literally can happen.
Well, at his last start, when I was at the game and then we were in the scrum, and somebody asked him, hey, Aaron, is it in your head?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you expect him to say.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm a total head case. I need a shrink guy.
Hey, Aaron, the fact that you don't have a contract for next year and you bet on yourself and you're playing like crap. Hey, how are you feeling about that? Like, what do you expect them to say?
Nothing genius, that's for sure. Sometimes the questions they're asking the scrum make me laugh, or how they ask the same question a couple different times in just different ways. But the bullpen, do you feel? All right, let me ask you this question. So if you have these as your 4 guys rotation in the postseason, and you move Sanchez and Lorenzen to the bullpen, you keep Alvarado, Sir Anthony, and Kimbrel, and Hoffman. Is that your 4?
Yeah, those are my 4. But
6 bullpen pieces.
I mean, for whatever reason, they're going to keep Kimbrel in the save position no matter what.
I'm okay with
the closer position.
I think it's better.
I'm okay with it too because of course he does have the play. I mean, this is a resurgence season for him, regardless.
Yeah,
and he does have the experience in the playoffs. So them going forward with him as a closer, fine. I don't really think it should be situational batting for him, whether he's going to get the entrance or not. I think that's just a role he's going to be in. The question mark is where do you put Hoffman? Because Hoffman right now is the most reliable in your bullpen. And, of course, you want the
7. I go 7 hole.
See, I don't know because, of course, you want the firepower. I go 8 hole. That's kind of where I'm leaning. You want the firepower from Alvarado. but he can get wild at times. But even when he gets wild, he gets stuff out of it somehow. Dominguez is such a question mark. So I wouldn't even like. I would keep him right around your 7 guy or 6 or 7 guy if you even use him. Maybe with him and because he can fire the ball too. Him and Alvarado may be a mix mash of who's at bat for what inning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
I think right now, and then you got Strom. You got Strom. Like wow, yeah, they have a lot of pitchers actually.
But it's just they have to click on all cylinders.
I know
about.
everyone's got to play.
I think
up to
because last
potential.
year we had no expectations. This is why you're going to stress out about this.
Yeah,
I mean, Joe, at one point you didn't think they were going to make the playoffs,
absolutely.
and then when
100%.
they get in there, you're like, oh, they're going to go Cardinals. Maybe they get the Cardinals. Maybe get to the next
Mm-hmm.
round and see how they go. Now we have expectation, and the expectation is to win the whole damn thing.
It sucks.
All right, Joe. Why don't we move on to the next topic here?
Yeah. Last night, me and my wife watched the Kelsey documentary, and it was a little bit different than what I expected going into. And I'm not going to give spoilers because it's
less
been out.
Lighthearted or something.
No, it was more. I don't know if I just didn't expect it to be more family rounded, because the documentary started out as kind of like a an exit, a farewell for his final season.
Uh-huh.
And then just the way everything went on, it became more and more apparent that it was more about Jason Kelsey, the person, not the player per se.
It was just about Jason Kelsey, right?
A majority.
I just wanted to make sure.
I mean, his brother was in it, his mom was in it.
But it wasn't. It was centric around him, though.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
The whole thing was based around him.
I wasn't sure it was called Kelsey, and it meant like him and his brother.
Right. No, his brother was. They interviewed his brother. His brother, of course, was in it from like the media stuff towards the Super Bowl and stuff. You got to see like inside his house, which was really cool. He lives in Havertown.
Yeah, Delco guy.
Yeah, he lives in. I know the area. I can't drive up to his house or whatever, but I know like my wife's like, wait a minute, I know that wall. We can get that. It's funny enough. But yeah, it was like his wife was in it a lot. His kids, of course, the parents and all. And it showed Connor Barwin was the executive producer.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They were showing him have like poker games with Connor, Brent Selleck, Mike Quick, and like they're sitting around playing like Texas Hold'em. He's like, "How did you guys feel about retirement? What were the questions you had for yourself going into it?" And like it was like a round table, and they interviewed a bunch of people. Connor Barwin, you see them, Connor and Kelsey hanging out by the fire pit at his house, drinking beers, talking stuff. It was a really cool thing, and it took me by surprise because it was something different than what I expected it to be. WIP, of course, they had sound clips, and the only thing I will say is I'll say to you, maybe without saying it so much, but Kyle Quinn is in it. Kyle's in it. He's
former EoP alum, huh?
Yeah, and he actually at the end of the documentary has one of the biggest announcements of the documentary.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's really cool. I actually tweeted at him last night saying, "Hey, I heard you. Congratulations and all that." So it's really, really cool.
So I'm not going to watch it because Kyle sucks. No, I'm just kidding. Kyle's, for those who don't know, Kyle was formerly part of EoP before he signed over with WIP. So we're very proud of him for what he's done.
Yeah. So I mean, I know you were watching the Phillies game. A majority of people were watching the Phillies game. We knew it was coming out last night, so we watched it right away. I have time
set to watch that this weekend. I watched the game. I was actually on my iPad doing my notes for tonight's show and then just kind of getting all my stuff together. And so I throw some on the background. I've been watching the second season of Winning Time or whatever it's called. The Lakers thing.
Yeah.
What a great show. I love that show.
I have not watched it yet.
You watched the first season
yet?
No. It's satirical.
Yeah.
So it's made to be over the top and funnier and not everything is the way it happened, but it's worth the watch. Trust me.
Yeah. Funny enough, one last more Jason Kelsey thing. When we were down the shore last week, I'm saying to my wife, I'm like, I'm going to Jason Kelsey Street. I know the street that he's on in Seattle. I was like, I gotta see if this guy's gonna be down here. She's like, it's the week before the first game. Like he's not gonna be down here. I go, it's Labor Day weekend. Where else would he be? So then we had Lex had some friends come over and we're all out on the deck having drinks and stuff. And I'm saying to them, I'm like, I'm like, I got to go see if Jason Kelsey's down here this weekend. And they're like, oh, hold on. And they go on their phone and they pull up a picture. They go, he's at the OD right now. I look on my phone. Are you kidding me? But this time it's like 11:30. Like I'm not going anywhere. And I'm like, Lex, I can't. He's here, and you stop this. And her friends were like, yeah, we know he's here. Like we know somebody who works for the Kelsey family, and they're down here as well. I'm like what the? Like my mind's about to explode.
I think I said the other day on the show. I said Jason Kelsey is everything I wanted to be as a kid. Think about it. I love playing center. If I was going to play in the NFL, that would be the position I would love to play. He's just got that personality that I would, honestly, we're the same exact guy, but just outgoing, easy.
Sure.
He's a pretty much a Delco guy. I mean, come on. He's and then like think about it. He has reinvented that position.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm not just saying this as a Kelsey fan. I mean, he overtook my favorite NFL Eagles of all time player as my 1A because 1A and 1B, and I don't want to. I hope this never gets out to Brian Dawkins because I would probably cry. But Brian Dawkins is my man. I got signed jerseys. I got about 3 or 4 Dawkins jerseys. 2 of them signed. Love
I got one.
And it's just like, but Jason Kelsey's everything I ever would imagine. If I could go back, like if I could pick, like, all right, how I would expect if I could be an NFL player playing for the Philadelphia Eagles, that would be the way I could imagine my life playing out. Like, he's just a cool guy. Like that's he's out at the OD. Like, I mean, like he's
hanging out. Like she just pulled up her phone. Like, here's a picture. Jason Kelsey's at the OD right down the street. What? But anyway,
like you said, like he's just like guys.
He's
like
the everyman.
Like guys like him, he's have an entourage. They're not doing this.
Yeah.
Like who would have thought this guy's raising a ton of money just bartending?
It's funny because like they show Travis at the house, like hanging out, like meeting the newborn and stuff like that. And I look at Lex, I go, you know what else is cool? Travis Kelsey just hangs out in Havertown.
Speaking of, did you see like the rumor with Travis?
Taylor Swift, I think
they're hanging out,
something like that. Yeah.
So he dated a girl from Wildwood, and he moved over to Taylor Swift, an Eagles fan.
True, very true. I think he's an Eagles fan. I think he wants to be an Eagle.
I can see him doing that. I can see him doing that. Like I can see like if he had the opportunity to come here for a year and play one year with Jason, and it didn't affect his.
I'll say,
I'd take him in a heartbeat.
It feels like the Swan Song. Watching it, it does. It feels like the Swan Song. In fact,
it was supposed to be, wasn't it?
Well, the documentary was supposed to be. Yes. It was. No, I'm saying after watching it, knowing all his feelings and emotions and consideration of what to do with this season, knowing everything he went through and was thinking and saying from last season, it feels like this is it. Some of the things that Lex was like, this documentary only solidified him being my favorite player of all time. Couldn't agree more.
Like he's a guy like if he wasn't a football player, like I totally we would hang out. Like he would fit into that.
This is exactly what I was going to say. You know how they say like don't meet your heroes because you'll be upset.
Yeah.
Well, there is one of them whose name I did say, who I was a huge fan of from the Eagles, and then an interaction with us in a roundabout way, he kind of big D'd us.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this guy is. I don't care for this guy anymore.
No.
And you probably know who I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. But they say don't meet your heroes, but Jason Kelsey is the one I know I would not be disappointed by if I met, because we would sit there. Dude, we would be best friends. I'm just going to put it out there. Me and Jason Kelsey, we would be best friends.
Listen, you're just going to walk in a room and he's going to be like, here, bro.
Yeah.
And like hand you a beer.
Oh, my God.
It'd be like no different.
Would he have, answer honestly, could he have a better chugging partner than me?
It's hard to think of.
You know the answer.
I know. I'm trying to think of anybody. No.
Dude, we'd be best friends.
It'd be like, but like I said, he would be what makes him cool. This is, we'll end on this. What really makes him cool is that he would have fun, has much fun hanging out with you as much as the other way around.
Yeah.
Like you'd be like, oh my God, it's Jason Kelsey. But at the same time, he's like, Joe's here. We're just cracking some beers, having a good time, barbecuing, having he's just he's the everyday guy. That he's not full of himself, but the man he's got the money, he's got the ability, and he's just he's not going anywhere. Jason Kelsey will be another voice on the radio for us and our kids. You know what I mean? Like that's what's going to happen. Like, oh yeah, Jason Kelsey used to play. Jason Kelsey used to play. goddamn great. I mean, think about it. He's going to be one of few centers in the. I'm calling it now. And if anybody disagrees with me, you can pound sand. He is going to the Hall of Fame. He's going to be one of the few centers in there. I can't say first ballot because it's his center. It's the only reason I can't say that.
Are people like debating that though? Like, isn't it just a no-brainer? It's such a non-thought to think that Jason Kelce will end up in the Hall of Fame one day. Eagles Wall of Fame? Absolutely. First day ballot, everything. Hall of Fame? There's no doubt in my mind that he
is.
It
5 years after they retire, they put him in the Wall of Fame?
I don't know. I don't know the exact thing.
I think it's 5 years for the Hall of Fame.
It's 5 years for the Hall of Fame, yes.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to end up in Canton one day.
I mean, the guy can get anybody. He could walk into a funeral and everybody would start screaming his name. Like people would go from a somber funeral. Jason Kelce!
Jason Kelce's
Jason Kelce!
Why are we here again? Oh yeah, Jason Kelce's here.
Yeah, like he's just that cool dude. But guys, I remind you, this is brought to you by Sherry'sTickets.com. Go to Sherry's Tickets for your sports, concert, theater tickets. No hidden fees. Use that promo code EOP10. Often save 10%. Go to cherryinjurylaw.com or call David R. Cherry at 610-565-0300. If you get hurt at work, personal injury, criminal law, motor vehicle accidents, you name it, he's got you covered. Like I said, guys, the next traveling trip coming up is the one to Tampa, and then they also have a cool bus trip. If it's like, I can't go take a couple days off, but for one day, you can head down to DC with phillysportstrips.com. Or if you really want to hop across the pond, sign up for your tickets now to go to the London Mets-Phillies game next year in June. Other than that, I'm Big Al.
And I'm Joey Sharon.
We out of here.